Firstly, let's see what the magician does in this magic act. In this act, magician Denny first invites the legendary comedian George Wallace onto the stage. He tells George that he has opened a new restaurant and George doesn't need to worry about money while ordering. The magician then places some money in George's pocket. Afterward, the magician provides George with a menu and asks him to order various items one by one. The magician also calls the show's host, Allison, onto the stage and asks her to write down the items George ordered on a whiteboard. The magician then has George select items from different categories, such as appetizers, soup, meat, dessert, and wine. Allison writes down the selected items on the board, and the total price comes out to be $83. The audience is astonished at what happens next. The magician takes out his wallet from his pocket and hands George a bill that was already in the wallet. Remarkably, the total on that bill is also $83, and it includes the exact items that George randomly selected. However, the magic doesn't end there. The magician proceeds to ask George to count the money that the magician had placed in his pocket at the beginning of the act. Astonishingly, the total comes out to be exactly $83 as well. But how? How did the magician know beforehand that the total price of the items would be $83? And how did the magician place exactly $83 in George's pocket before the act even started? The entire act was incredibly mind-boggling. But now let's dive into the secret behind this magic trick. In this act, the magician manages to surprise the audience twice. First, when he produces the exact bill from his wallet. And second, when money in George's pocket turns out to be exactly $83. Let's start by understanding how the magician produces the exact bill from his wallet, matching George's selected items. The magician employs modern technology for this part of the trick. A mini Bluetooth bill printer is concealed within the magician's wallet. When the magician's assistant hears the item selected by George, he used Bluetooth to print the bill from the mini printer in the magician's wallet. This way, the magician can present the bill to the audience, leaving everyone amazed. But what happens next is going to be even more astonishing, and understanding the secret behind it requires careful attention. For the second part, where money in George's pocket turns out to be exactly $83. The magician guides George's choices strategically, leading to a predetermined total of $83. The magician manipulates the categories in such a way that, regardless of the items George selects, they are categorized in a manner that always results in this total. If we observe here, when the magician instructs George to select items, the magician specifies the category for George to choose from.
And that's where we're going to start. Get a nice appetizer for the table. And then from there, I want you to do a nice soup for the table. I want you to get a nice grilled meat for the table. Entree, I want you to do a nice cake or pastry to kind of get a nice dessert there. And then I want you to do a nice brandy or dessert wine as a nice little nightcap for your time at.
Okay, let's do it.
For instance, first, he asks George to choose something from the appetizers, then soup, followed by meat, dessert, and finally something from the wine category. However, if we look at the menu, after appetizers, there's salad, then bread, followed by soup, and so on. Even in the next page, there are desserts, cake, wine, and aperitifs. But the magician sequentially names categories, from which George picks one out of 4 or 5 different items. So why does the magician do this? In essence, the whole trick is rooted in mathematics. Let's examine the appetizers category. There are a total of 6 items, and if we look at their prices, 4 of them have similar prices. This means that no matter which item George selects, its price will match one of these 4 prices. Let's say George selects chicken, which costs $14. Based on George's first choice, the magician already knows which category he will guide George towards next. Let's say these categories are salad, pasta, soup, and bread. Under each of these categories, the items have specific prices. For instance, if George selected a $14 appetizer, the magician guides him to choose soup next. Similarly, if George had chosen a $20 appetizer, the magician would guide him to the bread category. Or if George had selected an $8.5 appetizer, he would be guided to choose from the pasta. This process continues for the last option as well, with the magician having a distinct category in mind. Now, let's understand what this accomplishes. By doing this, after selecting an item from both categories, a final total is derived from 3 possible outcomes. No matter what George selects, the magician pairs categories with a predetermined total price among these 3 outcomes. Once the magician knows which of the 3 outcomes has occurred, he guides George to choose from the next category based on this outcome. For example, if after the first 2 choices, the outcome is 24.5, the magician guides George to select from the meats category. However, if after the first 2 choices, the total is 28.5, the magician guides George to select from the main course. Similarly, if the total is 30.5, the magician guides George to choose from the specials. Just like before, this narrows down the final total to one of 2 numbers. Now, after selecting the 3rd item, the total will lead the magician to guide George to choose from 2 subsequent categories. Choosing any item from these categories results in 2 possible totals, $71 or $75. After this, there are wine and aperitifs categories. Although the items in these categories are different, their prices are the same. For instance, if after selecting 4 items, the total is 71, the magician guides George to choose from the wines, adding a $12 item to reach the final result of $83. Similarly, if after 4 choices, the total is $75, the magician guides George to select from the aperitifs, adding an $8 item to, again, reach the total of $83. So, the magician knew in advance that no matter how the selections unfolded, the final result would always be $83. This is why the magician initially placed $83 in George's pocket before the act began. This is how the magician baffles everyone with this incredible magic trick. In this magic act, Penn, Teller, and a spectator named Amy are on stage. Penn says that Teller has a lot of money. Teller then places a stack of cash on the table. Penn explains that the stack contains 50, 20, 10, 5, and $1 bills and asks Amy to pick some notes from it. Penn mentions that nobody knows how much money Amy has picked up and that now he will use magic to determine the amount. Just then, a pizza delivery guy enters the stage with a large pizza, claiming he received an order from there. Penn takes the pizza from him and tells him he can leave. But the delivery guy asks for payment. Penn says they currently don't have any money, then remembers that Amy has some cash. Penn checks the pizza bill, which amounts to $42. When Amy counts the money she has picked, it is exactly $42.
There's 10, 15, 16, makes it hard now.
I know.
21, 22, 32, 42.
But the magic doesn't end there. As the delivery guy is about to leave, he gives Penn a menu card with various types of pizzas listed on the front. Penn points out that usually, one would choose a pizza first and then order it. However, in this case, the pizza has already arrived. Penn then asks Amy to select any pizza from the menu. Amy chooses the Rudy Special Pizza.
Which one of those would you have, Amy?
Rudy's Special.
The Rudy Special!
Penn then opens the menu and reads the ingredients of some pizzas, noting that each pizza has different ingredients. When he reads the ingredients of the Rudy Special Pizza that Amy chose, it includes cheese, pepperoni, green peppers, and tomatoes.
What does the Rudy Special have on it?
Cheese, pepperoni, green peppers, and tomatoes.
Everyone is astonished when Penn opens the pizza box to reveal that it is exactly the Rudy Special Pizza that Amy had selected from the menu.
Tomato, pepperoni, green peppers. Is that exactly what you ordered?
It is.
Exactly what you ordered, right there.
But how? How did Amy pick the exact amount of money needed for the bill? And how was the pizza exactly the one Amy chose? Is Amy in cahoots with the magicians? If not, how is all this possible? Now, let's uncover the secret behind this magic trick. In this act, Teller places the stack of bills on the table and Penn asks Amy to pick some notes from it. If you notice, Teller shows the notes to everyone but does not shuffle them. He places them on the table in the same order. Amy then picks some notes from the top. Each note has a unique serial number, and the delivery guy knows the order of the notes in the pile beforehand. Penn sees the serial number of the note right below where Amy picks and cleverly communicates this serial number in a code that only the pizza delivery guy can understand.
You have no idea how much money you have, right? I mean, you could have $14, or you could have $103. There were 50s in there, or you could have $3 because there were singles in there.
Penn says something like $14, $103, $50, $3, which, when written out, forms an exact serial number of a U.S. bill. This way, the delivery guy now knows how many notes Amy picked above this one, which totals $42. He prints this amount on the bill, ensuring that the money in Amy's hand matches the bill amount exactly.
There's 10, 15, 16, makes it hard now.
I know.
21, 22, 32, 42. You grabbed an amount of money exactly 42. There you go.
After this, the delivery guy hands Penn a menu and leaves. The menu has several types of pizzas listed on the front, and Amy chooses the Rudy Special Pizza.
Rudy Special.
The Rudy Special!
When Penn opens the menu and reads the ingredients of some pizzas, each one has different ingredients. The Rudy Special, which Amy chose, has cheese, pepperoni, green peppers, and tomatoes listed as ingredients. When the pizza box is opened, it contains exactly the Rudy Special Pizza. The trick lies in the menu. Although the menu lists various types of pizzas on the front, but inside the menu, the ingredients for all these pizzas are the same: cheese, pepperoni, green peppers, and tomatoes. So, no matter which pizza Amy chose from the front, the ingredients listed inside the menu always match the pizza in the box. When Penn opens the pizza box, it matches Amy's choice, astonishing everyone. And now you know the secret behind this magic trick. For this act, magician Oz Perlman first comes to the judges with a notepad and a marker pen. The magician writes Heidi's name on the notepad and then asks her to think of any number less than 100.
Think of a number less than 100.
After that, Oz writes something on the notepad. Now, Oz asks Heidi to reveal the number she had in mind, and it turns out to be the number 57.
What was that number?
57.
After that, the magician reveals his notepad, and everyone is amazed because the magician had written the exact same number, 57, on the notepad. Following this, Oz turns to the show's second judge, Mel B, and asks her to think about a memorable vacation. Oz hands Mel B a paper and a marker, instructing her to write down the location of that vacation and also the name of the person who accompanied her on that trip. Oz then turns the other way, and meanwhile, Mel B writes down Fiji as the location and Jerry as the person's name on the paper. After doing so, she shows it to everyone except Oz. Oz takes the paper from Mel B and tears it into several pieces without looking at it. Now, Oz asks Mel B about the year she went on that vacation, and Mel B reveals it was 1998. The magician notes this on his notepad. Following that, Oz takes out an envelope from his coat pocket labeled Prediction. The envelope is securely pinned from all sides and completely sealed. Oz hands this envelope to the show's other judge, Howard, for him to open. When the envelope is opened and Howard reads the note inside, everyone is astonished. The note contains the exact location, exact date, and the exact name of the person Mel B had in mind. But how? How does the magician manage to guess the number someone is thinking of? How did the magician know in advance that Mel B was thinking about which vacation? Have the judges colluded with the magician, or is it some kind of magical or extraordinary trick by the magician? Now we are going to find out the secret behind this magic. In this act, magician Oz Perlman first approaches the judges with a notepad and a marker and asks Judge Heidi to think of a number. He then writes something in his notepad. Heidi thinks of the number 57, and when Oz reveals his notepad, the number 57 is also written on it. However, if you look closely, the number is written in a very peculiar way. If you compare the handwriting above and below, even if the magician predicted the number and wrote it, the writing should have been more consistent. Additionally, if you watch Oz in slow motion as he writes the number on the notepad, His hand movements give the impression that he's writing 26. You can observe the round movement of his hands in the end. So, it's clear now that Oz didn't predict anything here. In reality, Oz isn't actually writing anything on the notepad. If you look closely right after that, Oz is holding the notepad with his left hand, while his right hand is directed towards his pocket. It's during this moment that Oz cleverly wears a thumb-tip writer on his thumb, which was already present in his pocket. After that, you can easily deduce from his notepad holding technique that he can now effortlessly write on the notepad using the thumb-tip writer. After this, Oz asks Heidi to reveal the number to everyone, which is 57.
What was that number?
57.
As soon as he hears the number, Oz uses the thumb-tip writer to write it on the notepad. This way, Oz smoothly completes the first part of his mind-reading act. Now, let's move on to the second part where Oz gives a paper to Melby and asks her to write down the name of her favorite vacation spot and the name of the person with her on that vacation. The paper is filled on all four sides, and there's only space in the center to write. In magic, even the smallest details matter, which often go unnoticed by the general audience. In this case, there's a specific reason for the paper being arranged in this way, and we'll explore it further. After receiving the paper, Melby wrote Fiji as the vacation spot and Jerry as the person's name. The magician currently has no idea about Melby's chosen vacation or what she has written on the paper. After folding the paper, the magician takes it in his hands and proceeds to tear it into multiple pieces. But this is where the whole trick lies, and the reason for the paper being arranged this way. In reality, when the magician takes the paper in his hands and tears it into pieces, he does it in such a way that it gives the illusion of the paper being torn apart. However, the center part of the paper remains completely intact, and the magician cleverly sees it. After seeing what's written on the paper, Oz further tears it into pieces, erasing any evidence of the trick. Now, the magician knows what Melby was thinking about regarding the place and the person, but the question remains, how was this prediction inside the sealed envelope? In reality, inside this packet, there were two things. One was carbon paper, and the other was a pre-written note with just 3 blanks left empty. If you notice, Oz was using a marker in the first act. But here, when Oz asks Melby about the year and pretends to write on the notepad, he is using a pen that is actually inkless. Oz is actually writing on the envelope hidden behind the notepad. Now, since Oz has already seen the place and person's names on the paper, he cleverly asks Melby about the year, pretending to write it on the notepad. While acting, he uses the inkless pen to fill in the blanks for place, year, and person's name on the envelope from above. By doing this, the carbon paper inside the envelope transfers the writing onto the pre-written note underneath. Now, the magician cleverly distracts everyone with his words, hiding the envelope present behind the notepad in his left hand. He then pretends to pull the envelope out of his coat, making it seem like he's revealing it for the first time. When the sealed envelope is torn, the prediction note inside unfolds, displaying exactly what Melby had thought about. And this is how magician Oz Perlman, with his amazing mind-reading act, leaves everyone astonished. In this act, Allison gives a piece of paper to a girl sitting in front of her and asks her to think of any number between 25 and 100 and write it down. To make the act more convincing, Allison stands and turns around, so she has no idea which number the girl is writing on the paper. When the girl writes down her chosen number on the paper and folds it, she hands it back to Allison. After taking the paper from the girl, Allison, without looking at it, tears it into several pieces and places them in an ashtray on the table. Now, Allison says that she doesn't know what number the girl wrote on the paper, but now she will magically find out. Allison takes the girl's hand in her hand and asks her to think of the number in her mind. She says that as soon as she figures out the number, the pieces of paper in the tray will start catching fire. And exactly as she says, the pieces of paper in the tray spontaneously ignite. Now, Allison says that she has magically determined the number the girl was thinking of. Allison asks the girl to count, and in that time, she fills a table set. Within 9 seconds, she fills the table set and then shows it to the girl, asking if her number is among them. The girl says no. Allison pretends as if her magic has failed. Allison then asks the girl for the number she chose, which turns out to be the number 54. Allison writes the number 54 inside the circle. Then, she makes a stunning revelation that leaves everyone amazed. Allison explains that the numbers written in the rows and columns are not just random numbers. If you add up all the numbers in the first row, the total is 54, which is the same number the girl had thought of and written on the paper. Similarly, if you add up all the numbers in any row, the total will be 54. Not only that, if you add up all the numbers in the first column, the total is also 54. Just like that, if you add up all the numbers in the remaining columns as well, the sum will also be 54. Not only that, if you add up all the numbers in the diagonal, it will also be 54. If you're still not amazed, hold on for a moment. Because if you add up the numbers in these 4 square boxes, the total will also be 54. But how? Did Allison really read the girl's mind and figure out that she was thinking of the number 54? And how did Allison manage to prepare such a table in just 9 seconds, which works in such an amazing way that the total is always 54? Now, let's understand the secret behind this amazing mathematical puzzle magic. But before that, if you enjoyed Amazing Allison's incredible magic, be sure to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel for more magic reveal videos like this. Now, let's delve into the secret behind this magic trick. In this act, Allison gives a piece of paper to the girl sitting in front of her, asking her to write any number between 25 and 100. The girl writes a number on the paper and gives it back to Allison, who tears it up without looking and puts the pieces into an ashtray. Then, she takes the girl's hand and seemingly reads her mind, causing the paper in the ashtray to catch fire. Our old viewers who are familiar with magic tricks may know how fire can be ignited in a piece of paper like this. For those who are new to this, let me explain that the paper Allison gives to the girl isn't just any normal paper. It's flash paper. Flash paper is commonly used by magicians in their shows. The special characteristic of flash paper is that it ignites into flames with just a small spark, and without leaving any residue, it completely disappears. Similarly, the paper in the ashtray here is flash paper as well. Additionally, there is an igniter placed in the tray that can be controlled remotely. At the right moment, Allison's assistant triggers the ignition in the tray via remote control, causing the flash paper pieces inside to catch fire. Along with this, Allison claims to have read the girl's mind and now knows which number she was thinking of. Afterwards, Allison quickly fills in the table with numbers within 9 seconds. When you add up the numbers in any row, column, or diagonal of the table, the total always adds up to 54. Exactly, it's the same number that the girl had in her mind and wrote on the paper. In reality, all of this is a feat of mathematics. Now, pay close attention as I explain how Allison created this table and how you can also make it easily. Essentially, all these numbers in this table are fixed, and you'll need to memorize these numbers. Now, let's focus on these 4 boxes. The number to be filled here will be determined by this formula. Here, n represents the value, which is the number the girl chose, which was 54. In this box, n minus 20 equals 34, since 54 minus 20 equals 34. Similarly, in this box, n minus 21 equals 33. Likewise, in this box, n minus 18 equals 36, because 54 minus 18 equals 36. And in the last box, n minus 19 equals 35, since 54 minus 19 equals 35. This way, the set is fully prepared. Now, if you add up the numbers in any row or any column, the sum will be 54, the same number the spectator chose. Not only that, but when you add the numbers diagonally, the result will also be 54, and adding the numbers in these squares will also yield a sum of 54. And that's enough to astonish anyone. But now the question arises, how did Allison know which number the girl had in mind? Did she really read her mind? The answer is absolutely not. A similar magic was performed by Oz Perlman, where he gave a piece of paper to Judge Melby, which was something like this. All four sides were filled, leaving space in the middle to write. And in this, Oz asks Melby to write the name of a memorable trip destination and the name of the person accompanying her on the trip. Then, without looking, he tears it up and throws it away. And then, just like Allison, he reveals everything by apparently reading Melby's mind. We've explained in detail how the magician did all this. Just like Oz Perlman, if you observe here, before handing the paper to the girl, Allison draws a boundary and asks her to write her chosen number within it. After taking the paper from the girl, Allison tears it into pieces, and that's the whole trick. In reality, Allison's way of tearing the paper is something like this. She tears it in such a way that even after tearing it once or twice, the middle part remains completely intact, and she cleverly looks at it. After seeing the number, Allison tears it into more pieces and puts it in the ashtray. If you observe Allison tearing the paper in slow motion, you can clearly see her opening it up and looking at it. And once Allison has seen the number, she tears the paper into more pieces and throws it away. This way, Allison now knows that the girl chose the number 54. Now, Allison just needs to fill in the rest of the table with these numbers as they are, and fill in these 4 boxes according to the formulas. By doing this, Allison completes her amazing mind-reading act, leaving everyone astonished. First, let's see what the magician does in this magic act. For this act, the magician starts by revealing a jar on stage, which contains some amount of money. The magician explains that while preparing for this magic act, he was very nervous. Whenever he would inadvertently say something wrong due to his nervousness, he put money into this jar, hoping to change this habit. And that's how the jar got filled with money. After revealing the jar, the magician asks the show's judge and host to guess the amount of money in the jar. First, Teller guesses $76, followed by the host Allison guessing $88, and finally, Penn guesses $247. The magician writes down all these guesses on a piece of paper. Then, the magician announces that none of the guesses were correct. Now, the magician hands the paper with the guesses to the judge and invites Allison onto the stage. The magician asks Allison to pull out a piece of paper from the jar, which already contains a prediction of the outcome of the magic trick. Allison reads the paper, which states that none of the individual guesses was correct, but if all 3 guesses are added together, the total amount in the jar will be exactly the same. The magician then asks the judge to add up the 3 guesses, $76, $88, and $247, which adds up to $411. After this, the magician opens the lid of the jar to reveal the amount written under the lid of the jar, which is exactly $411. This leaves everyone astonished. But how? Was the magician already aware of what the judges were going to guess? How did the magician predict that the total would be $411 when he didn't know the guesses in advance? Can the magician truly see the future? The answer is no. This was a remarkable trick performed by the magician, and now we are going to learn its secret. As we know, mentalists or magicians often use forced selection techniques to subtly guide someone to choose a particular option. So, does the magician in this act also use a forced selection technique? Did the magician cleverly influence the numbers guessed by these 3 individuals? The answer is no. Everything here was real, and the guesses made by these 3 were entirely their own choices. The magician had no idea about the numbers they would guess. Then how did the magician's prediction turn out to be accurate, even when he had no idea about the choices? The trick begins when the magician writes down the 3 guessed numbers on the notepad. Actually, the magician's hand doesn't just hold the notepad, he also has a circular sticker attached to the corner of the notepad. Yes, the very sticker that gets revealed at the end. After noting down the guessed numbers, the magician cleverly writes the total, which is $411, on the sticker he was holding behind the notepad. If you pay close attention, after writing down the numbers, the camera cut transitions to the judges. But just before that, you can see the magician discreetly doing something on the side. Now you know how the magician wrote $411, but the biggest question remains, how did the sticker end up under the jar's lid? Because throughout the act, the magician never went near the jar, and when he did, he clearly showed the lid being open. So, how did the sticker get under the lid? Let's find out. After noting everything on the notepad and the sticker, the magician goes to the jar. He places the marker on the table and lifts the jar while pretending to talk to Allison. In reality, while placing the marker on the table, the magician cleverly places the sticker with it on the table. Yes, that same sticker with the $411 written on it. The back side of this sticker is entirely black, making it difficult to notice the sticker on this table. However, if you look at the before and after pictures after placing the sticker on the table, you can observe and understand that something has been placed here. After this, when the magician goes to the jar's lid and opens it, he asks Allison to take out the paper with the predictions written on it. But if you observe carefully, you'll notice that the magician first opens the lid of the jar and keeps it on the table, exactly at that spot where he placed the sticker. The sticker is magnetic, just like fridge magnets. Placing the lid on top of it causes the sticker to attach to the bottom of the lid. Then the magician places the lid back onto the jar. In this way, the magician smoothly accomplishes the task without anyone noticing, and when the final reveal happens, everyone is left amazed. But now you know the secret behind this incredible magic trick. In this magic act, magician Andy takes the stage and begins his performance. However, he suddenly exclaims that he was so excited about this act that he forgot to bring a card box. At that moment, a white cardboard, initially held by him, transforms into a playing card box. Andy realizes that there are no cards inside, but in the next instant, playing cards magically appear inside the box. Andy mentions that while red cards are good, he prefers to perform his magic with blue cards. He then pulls out blue playing cards from his pocket. Andy's mood takes another turn, and he crumples and tosses the playing cards aside, now delving into his real act. Andy asserts that the government is controlling everyone's minds, and everything we see is a lie. He claims to have proof of this. Andy then retrieves some cards from his pocket. He proceeds to take each card one by one into his right hand and asks the judge, Penn, to stop him anywhere by saying stop. Wherever Penn says stop, Andy places that card on the table. He then reveals the remaining cards, and each one bears the inscription lie. But when Andy picks up the card placed on the table and mentions that Penn could have chosen any card, but he specifically picked the one the magician wanted, Andy reveals that the chosen card bears the inscription "Fool Us." Following this revelation, Andy flips over a board on the stage with various logos. He explains that whatever ads or logos we see on TV, which we perceive as simple symbols, are actually commands. Through these symbols, the government is controlling our minds. To prove his point, Andy retrieves a notepad and a pen from his pocket. He writes down a predicted number and then invites the show's host, Allison, to choose any number between 3 and 86. Allison selects the number 3.
3.
Andy reveals his notepad, which shows the number 24. At first, it seems like Andy's magic may have failed. However, Andy then rotates the board with logos upside down, revealing the message "Miss by 21."
Miss by 21.
This surprised everyone, as Allison had chosen exactly number 3 and missed the number 24 predicted by Andy by 21, as written on the board as a command. So is it really true what Andy is saying? And is our mind really being controlled? And how is this happening? Now we are about to discover the secret behind this amazing mind-reading magic. In this act, magician Andy first shows everyone a cardboard that is initially white and blank. Andy mentions that in the excitement of performing the act, he forgot to bring the playing card box. However, At that moment, the white cardboard he is holding transforms into a red playing card box. Afterwards, Andy says that he even forgot to bring playing cards. In the next instant, cards magically appear in the card box he is holding. Actually, nothing magical is happening here. It's a rather simple trick performed with the help of this cardboard that Andy is holding. In reality, there is a flap on the top of the white blank cardboard that Andy is currently holding. When released, this flap opens in a way that reveals the red print underneath. If we were to observe it in slow motion, you would see the flap opening downwards. However, as of now, it still seems like there are no playing cards here. While in reality, behind this flap, there is already a card box containing playing cards. We are talking about this card box in which cards are already present. The magician simply covers it with the remaining flaps and then astounds everyone by producing cards from within. After this, Andy takes out a blue card box from his jacket and proceeds to take out cards from it. However, he loses interest in performing the card trick and crumples the cards before tossing them away. Which, in reality, is not difficult to understand that these are not real cards, but a hollow cardboard box, creating the illusion of playing cards. Andy crumples it and tosses it away. Now, Andy begins his weird storytelling, claiming that the government is controlling all our minds. Andy takes out some cards from his shirt pocket, and one by one, holding each card in his right hand, he asks Judge Penn to say stop to choose a card. Andy places this card on the table. Now, when Andy reveals the cards he is holding, all of them have lies written on them. However, when he reveals the chosen card on the table, it only has "Fool Us" written on it. In reality, this is also a quite simple trick. Whoever has figured it out, do share in the comments. The cards in the magician's hand are divided, with "Fool Us" written on the upper half and lies written on the lower half. As Andy takes each card from the top one by one in his right hand, observe that he does it very slowly, and then asks Penn if he wants to choose that particular card. Actually, Andy intends to have Penn choose a card from the upper "Fool Us" cards. When Penn says stop on the third card, Andy places it on the table, and now you know that this card indeed has "Fool Us" written on it. After that, Andy cleverly places the remaining cards in his right hand below the "Fool Us" cards, and then, pulling out some cards from the bottom, he shows everyone that the rest of the cards indeed have lies written on them. However, as you now know, some cards at the bottom originally had lies written on them, which Andy reveals to the audience. After that, Andy moves on to his main act and turns a board on the stage, claiming that the symbols on it are actually government commands used to control our mind. Following this, Andy takes out a notepad and a pen from his pocket and predicts a number, writing it down on the notepad. Now, Andy asks the show's host, Allison, to choose any number between 3 and 86. Allison picks the number 3.
3.
3.
Afterwards, Andy reveals his predicted number, which is 24. Everyone thinks that Andy's magic has failed, and his guess is wrong. However, at that moment, Andy rotates the board placed on the stage, revealing the words "Miss" by 21 written on it.
Miss by 21.
And what was written on it? Allison did exactly that. Allison missed the predicted number 24 by 21 and chose the number 3. If you closely observed when Andy took out the notepad and then retrieved the pen from his pocket, you might have noticed that he first placed his hand in his right pocket. Upon closer inspection, you would have seen that he only inserted his thumb into the pocket. And this is where Andy cleverly wears a thumb tip writer that he had already kept in his pocket on his thumb. Various types of magic tricks are performed using the thumb tip writer. It has a small pencil lead at its tip, allowing you to write something without being noticed. In reality, when Andy predicts a number and writes it on his notepad with a pen, he isn't actually writing anything. He just acts as if he is writing. After this, Andy asks Allison to choose any number between 3 and 86. Allison chooses the number 3. As soon as Andy hears the number, he adds 21 to 3, resulting in the number 24. And by using the thumb tip writer worn on his right hand's thumb, he writes it on the notepad. Here, you can clearly observe Andy using the thumb tip writer to write something on the notepad. After this, Andy amazes everyone by revealing his prediction and the board on which Miss by 21 was written. By doing this, Andy provides proof that our minds are actually being controlled. But now you know that there is nothing like that, and it was just a fantastic trick by the magician. In this magic act, a jar filled with jelly beans is shown to the audience, and they are asked to guess how many jelly beans are inside. The audience is divided into 4 categories, with each group given a different colored paper: yellow, blue, pink, and purple. They are asked to write their guess on the given paper and then put it in the corresponding box. The slips from the 4 boxes are then combined into a large bowl and mixed thoroughly. Penn then goes to a spectator named Rennie on stage and asks her to take some coins out of the bowl and place them on the table. Rennie does this, and Penn asks her to count the coins and write the amount on a paper. While Rennie counts the coins, Penn calls another spectator from the audience to help. Teller first draws a yellow slip from the bowl, which has the number 1512 written on it.
1512.
Teller writes this number on a board. Next, the spectator is asked to draw a blue slip. This time it has the number 2127.
2127.
Teller writes this number on the board. Again, the spectator is asked to draw a pink slip this time, which has the number 1373.
1373.
And this number is added to the board. Finally, one last time spectator is asked to draw a purple slip, which has the number 100. Teller also writes this number on the board. Now, there are 4 numbers on the board. These 4 numbers are then added together and divided by 4 to get an average, which is 1278. So, according to the audience, there are 1,278 jelly beans in the jar. To round this number off, Penn takes out 3 jelly beans from the jar and gives them to Teller. Now, according to the audience's guess, there are 1,275 jelly beans in the jar. Next, Penn goes to Rennie, who is asked to take some coins from the bowl and count them, writing the amount on a piece of paper. When Penn reveals the value written on the paper, everyone is astonished because Rennie had taken out exactly $12.75 from the bowl, which is the same number, 1,275, that the audience guessed. But how? How did this spectator pick exactly those 4 slips whose average exactly matched the number Rennie wrote after counting the coins? Was this a coincidence? And if not, how does it work? Now, let's uncover the secret behind this magic trick. In the magic act, the audience is first divided into 4 categories and given slips of paper in different colors. Each person is then asked to guess the number of jelly beans in this jar and write that number on their slip, which they are instructed to place in these boxes. These boxes are not ordinary boxes. In reality, they have hidden compartments with pre-filled slips of paper. The slips that the audience writes on go into this compartment. When the assistant opens the boxes and empties them into the bowl, he is actually emptying the pre-filled slips from this hidden compartment into the bowl, while the audience's slips remain in this compartment. The assistant repeats this process with all 4 boxes. These slips in the bowl are like this. The yellow slips have random numbers. All blue slips have the number 2127. The pink slips have the number 1373, and all the purple slips have the number 100 written on them. But the question remains, how does the average match Rennie's number? The trick is that when Penn asks Rennie to pick some coins from the bowl, it is truly Rennie's free choice. Rennie takes some coins from the bowl and places them on the table. Penn then asks Rennie to count these coins and cleverly spreads them out on the table. Meanwhile, if you look closely, Teller goes backstage to fetch the board. In reality, the assistant backstage counts the coins that Rennie places on the table before Rennie does. The assistant now knows that the number Rennie will write on the paper is 1,275. Also, The assistant knows the numbers on the blue, pink, and purple slips. This means that the assistant only needs to determine the magic number on the yellow slip to match the average with 1,278. After calculating this missing magic number, the assistant writes it on a yellow slip and gives it to Teller when Teller goes backstage to fetch the board. This means that Teller now has the yellow slip with the magic number that will make the average 1,278. This is why Teller himself takes out the first slip from the bowl and shows it to everyone. If you observe carefully, you can see that Teller is only pretending to take out the yellow slip from the bowl. In reality, he already has it in his hand. This first number is the calculated number, and the remaining three numbers are fixed, making the average 1,278, which Penn rounds off according to the coin denominations, resulting in 1275. This perfectly matches Rennie's count, astonishing everyone, and now you also know the secret behind this magic trick. John's magic act begins with him walking up to the judges and placing a bottle containing an envelope on the table. He then hands each of the four judges a blank sheet of paper and asks them to draw something, but without showing anyone else. The catch is that they're not allowed to reveal what they've drawn. After the judges finish their drawings, John asks Mel B to collect the sheets and shuffle them, ensuring that John has no idea which drawing belongs to which judge. This is the perfect setup for the magic to unfold. John starts by taking one sheet from the shuffled stack, and it has a heart drawn on it. Without hesitation, he confidently says, "This drawing belongs to Mel B," and it turns out he is correct. This drawing is indeed Mel B's. John's first guess is spot on. Moving on, he picks another sheet that has a sweater drawn on it. John looks at it for a moment and says, "This one is Howie's." Howie confirms that it's his drawing, and once again, John's guess is correct. Now John picks the third sheet, which has a butterfly drawn on it. John has to determine if it belongs to Heidi or Simon. Most people, including us, could guess that it's likely Hades. John also guesses the same, and he is right again. So far, every prediction has been dead on. Now John reaches for the last sheet. This sheet, of course, belongs to Simon. On it, Simon has drawn a dog. Now, John takes the magic act to the next level. He asks Simon to break the bottle that was placed on the table earlier. To make sure no one gets hurt, John takes a paper bag and places the bottle inside. He then asks Simon to smash it with a hammer. The tension builds as everyone waits for what happens next. Once the bottle is broken, John reaches inside and pulls out an envelope. Simon opens the envelope and takes out a piece of paper. As soon as the paper is revealed, the entire audience is stunned. The drawing on the paper matches Simon's drawing of a dog exactly, and to make things even more unbelievable, Simon's name is written on the paper next to the drawing. But that's not all. John then reveals that the envelope contains 3 more papers. Each paper has the names of the other judges, along with their exact drawings, just like the ones they made earlier. The audience is left in awe, wondering how John was able to predict what the judges would draw with such precision. Was he really able to see the future? How did he know exactly what each judge would draw on their sheet? Now, let's dive into the secret behind this mind-blowing act. In this, John gives each judge a sheet, and after the drawings are completed, he accurately guesses which judge drew which drawing. The secret lies in how John has prepared these sheets. Although all 4 sheets appear identical at first glance, each one actually has a different number of corners. By observing these unique corner differences, John can easily determine which sheet belongs to which judge. The sheet John gave to Mel B had 3 corners cut. The sheet given to Heidi had 2 corners cut. Howie's sheet had no corners cut, and Simon's sheet had only 1 corner cut. These subtle markings helped John identify which drawing belonged to which judge as he went through the act. Now, let's talk about the envelope and the bottle. At first glance, it might seem like the envelope with the predictions was inside the bottle all along, but in reality, that's not the case. When John walked up to the judges, he was holding the bottle, the sheets of paper, and a hammer. But here's the trick. While John was guessing the drawings, his assistant, hidden somewhere here below the stage, was busy drawing the exact same pictures the judges had drawn, along with their names. He then placed these drawings in an envelope and then inserted the envelope into a hidden pocket inside the paper bag. After doing this, the assistant placed this paper bag here. John later picked up this paper bag and asked Heidi to place the bottle in it. After Simon breaks the bottle, John retrieves the envelope from the hidden pocket of the bag, making it look as though the predictions were inside the bottle the whole time. But the envelope inside the bottle is a decoy, while the envelope prepared by the assistant with the correct drawings was hidden in the secret pocket of the paper bag all along. This clever switch makes it appear as though John knew exactly what the judges would draw, when in fact, now you know this envelope was prepared by his assistant. It's a perfect example of how a great magician can use misdirection and clever planning to make us believe the impossible. The audience is left mesmerized, wondering if John really has the ability to predict the future. But now you know it's all part of a well-executed trick. For this act, Magician Dragon and two randomly selected audience members, Max and Abigail, are on stage. Dragon holds a book in his hands. When he opens it, there is a sketch of an envelope on the page. But in the very next moment, the black and white sketch transforms into a real red envelope. Dragon even opens the envelope to show that it is real. Next, Dragon opens the book again and asks Max what he sees on the page. Max replies that he sees a picture of a rectangle. Dragon flips the page and then asks Abigail what she sees. Abigail says she sees a card box.
Abigail, now's your time to shine. What do you see here?
A rectangular box.
In the very next moment, the drawn box turns into a real card box in Dragon's hands. He opens the box to show that it contains real cards. Once again, Dragon opens the book, and this time, there's a painting on the page. He asks Abigail what she sees, and she says she sees a painting of a butterfly. Instantly, the painting transforms into a real butterfly. After this, Dragon takes out two blank pieces of paper. He explains that he is drawing something on the blank side using his imagination. After doing so, he folds the papers and places them on the table. Then, he opens the book again, revealing a scribbled image on one of the pages. He shows this image to Abigail and asks her to imagine a clear picture from the scribbles. He then does the same with Max, asking him to imagine a picture from the scribbled drawing. Now, the magician hands over the papers to Max and Abigail, the same papers on which he had drawn his imagination. He then asks Abigail what image she imagined in the scribbled drawing. Abigail replies that she imagined an apple.
Abigail, we'll start with you. What image did you go for?
I went for an apple.
The surprising part? When she opens the paper, there is a figure of an apple on it. Similarly, the magician asks Max about his imagination. Max says he saw the image of a tree.
Did you go for an apple?
I didn't go for an apple.
What'd you go for?
I went for a tree.
And when Max opens his paper, there is a figure of a tree on it. Everyone is left amazed. But how? How does a black and white image of an envelope turn into a real one? How do the card box and butterfly materialize in real life? And how does the magician's prediction match Abigail and Max's imagination perfectly? We are about to uncover the secret behind this incredible magic trick. But before that, if you want us to keep creating such amazing content for you, don't forget to like and share this video as much as possible. Now, let's reveal the secret behind this magic. First, the magician opens the book and shows everyone a black and white image of an envelope, which instantly transforms into a real red envelope. However, the black and white image isn't actually drawn on the page, it's just an outline cutout of an envelope. The corners of this cutout have small magnets attached to them. Behind this page, there is a real red envelope with magnets on its corners as well. When the magician slides both the cutout and the real envelope forward together, the magnets make the cutout stick to the red envelope behind it. This creates the illusion that the black and white sketch has magically turned into a real red envelope. But if there is a cutout on the envelope, How does the magician manage to open the envelope? The trick lies in how he handles it. Instead of opening it from the front, he cleverly flips the envelope around. The front side has the cutout attached, but the actual opening is on the back. By skillfully flipping the envelope and opening it from the back side, he makes it look like a real, functional envelope. A similar method is used for the card box trick. The magician first shows a printed-looking image of a card box on the book's page. In the next moment, it turns into a real card box. Just like the envelope trick, this isn't an actual printed image, but a cutout image of a card box with magnets on its corners. The real card box is hidden inside the magician's pocket. The real card box also has magnets on its back corners. The magician skillfully takes the real card box from his pocket and places it directly over the loosely attached cutout on the book's page. As soon as he does this, the cutout sticks to the back of the real card box due to the magnets. This creates the perfect illusion that the printed image of the card box has magically transformed into a real one, creating an astonishing visual transformation. Next, the magician opens the book again and shows a painting of a butterfly on the page. Suddenly, the butterfly seems to come out of the book. But in reality, the page is designed in a special way. A small butterfly toy is hidden right behind the half page. When the magician flips the page, the butterfly, which was pressed down, is released, making it appear as if it has emerged from the book. Then, the magician takes 2 drawing sheets and makes his imaginary predictions on them. After this, he opens the book again and shows a scribbled image to Max and Abigail, asking them to imagine a clear image from the scribbled drawing. Both of them end up imagining items that match the magician's predictions. But how? Why do Max and Abigail see an apple in a tree specifically? The secret lies in the image itself. It's not a single image, but a flap-based setup, where one flap hides an apple-like image and the other hides a tree-like image. The magician keeps one flap pressed while showing this image. When he subtly turns the book upside down, he releases his hand. When the magician releases it, the flap opens downward, revealing the hidden apple image. This means Abigail isn't really imagining anything, she is simply seeing the apple image that has been secretly placed there. Similarly, just before showing the image to Max, the magician flips the flap again, revealing the tree image instead. This way, Max isn't imagining a tree on his own. He is being shown a hidden image of a tree. Additionally, the papers that the magician gave to Max and Abigail have extra flaps with pre-folded origami figures of an apple and a tree. When they unfold their papers, the hidden origami figures appear, perfectly matching what they imagined. This clever trick, using flaps, hidden images, and origami, creates the illusion that Max and Abigail's imagination matches the magician's prediction. The audience is left in awe, but now you know the secret behind this amazing magic trick. In this magic act, Vinnie Grosso first asks the show's host, Brooke, for her phone. After that, Vinnie asks Penn to randomly open any page of his book. When Penn opens the page, Vinnie takes a photo of it using Brooke's phone. After taking the photo, Vinnie returns Brooke's phone to her. Then Vinnie takes 3 books in his hands and asks Penn to choose any one of them. Penn chooses the book titled Naked Mom, written by Brooke.
One of those 3 books, Naked Mom?
Naked Mom, did that feel like...
Now, Vinnie flips through the pages of the book and asks Brooke to say stop anywhere. When Brooke says stop, Vinnie moves a small magnifying glass on that page and asks Teller to say stop anywhere. Teller stops at a specific position, and the word found there is maybe, which Brooke reads. Now, for the final reveal, Vinnie asks Brooke to open the photo he took earlier on her phone and read the word written near Penn's distinct finger, which happens to be maybe as well.
Gosh,
It's maybe.
But how did the word written on the randomly chosen page match Teller's chosen word? After the act, Penn states that magician Vinny used two types of gimmicks for this magic, an old-style gimmick and a new technology gimmick.
You actually use two gimmicks. One of them is really old, really old, and the other one is really new technology.
And now, we will find out exactly how Vinny did this magic. At the beginning of this magic act, Vinny asks Brooke for her phone, and then he asks Penn to randomly open any page of his written book. Actually, here Vinny is just pretending to take a photo of that page. In reality, Vinny's assistant, who is backstage, takes a screenshot of this frame and then edits the word written in front of Penn's distinct finger to change it to maybe. Here, Vinny just turns on the airdrop feature of Brooke's phone. Through this, Vinny's backstage assistant transfers this modified image to Brooke's phone. And this is what Penn referred to as the new technology that Vinny used. So now, Brooke's phone has this image with the word maybe written on it. Now, let's move to the part where Vinny has Teller choose exactly this word. Here, Vinny flips through the pages of the book and asks Brooke to say stop anywhere randomly. Then, Vinny shows Brooke through a magnifying glass how she can isolate and read a particular word. Here, this magnifying glass is completely normal. But right after this, you can observe Vinny doing something behind the book. Actually, now he attaches another lens to this magnifying glass, which already has the word maybe written on it. After doing this, Vinny asks Teller to say stop. And then he asks Brooke to read this word. If you look at this page before and after changing the lens, you can clearly see that there is no maybe word in this portion of the book. And now you know that this maybe word is not on the book, but is preloaded onto this lens. This way, the audience believes that Teller's choice was completely free, and it exactly matches the image. But now you know that this maybe word came through this gimmick, and this image's maybe word was edited and sent to Brooke's phone. We put in a lot of effort to bring you these amazing magic reveal videos, so don't forget to like the video. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss any of our upcoming videos.